You wake up with a metallic taste in your mouth and a dull electric throb pulsing behind your eyes. Your bank balance is $400 heavier, but your limbs feel like they've been hauling lead for 8 hours straight. You didn't pull a double shift. You didn't even crawl out of bed. While you were drifting through what should have been a peaceful REM cycle, your brain was being leased out to the highest bidder. Trillions of your neurons were busy crunching high-level encryption for a data mining conglomerate in Zurich, while you dreamt of nothing. It seemed like the ultimate passive income, monetizing the third of your life you'd otherwise waste. Now, as you stare at the ceiling, struggling through a fog of corporate code to remember the sound of your own mother's voice, the reality sets in. This wasn't a paycheck. It was a heist. You sold the only private space you had left, and you can't even remember the price. We've always thought of sleep as something sacred, a private space where no one is allowed in except our own fantasies. But look at it through the eyes of big business. Your brain is the most advanced biological computer in the universe. We're talking trillions of neural connections and massive computing power just sitting idle for a third of your life. In a world where data is the new oil, letting you just sleep is a luxury the economy can't afford. This is where sleep working or brain renting comes in. It's a simple setup. They install a tiny chip, a brain-computer interface. You open an app, hit the night processor tier, and go to bed. The scale of this idea is insane. Billions of people turning into one giant global supercomputer. At first glance, it sounds like a total utopia. Think about it. No more soul-crushing office jobs. You could spend your days being creative, hanging out at the park, or traveling the world because your gray matter's night shift covers the mortgage and the groceries. Social inequality should theoretically vanish because everyone has a brain. It's the ultimate natural capital. It looks like the end of exploitation. But there's one problem the engineers and marketers hid in the fine print of the user agreement. For the first few weeks, you'll feel like the king of the world. Extra cash, total freedom. But soon you'll notice something weird. You wake up after a full 8 hours, but you feel like you've been hauling bricks all night. Your eyes are bloodshot, and there's this strange buzzing in your head. This is the first reality check. It turns out, sleep isn't just shutting down your consciousness. It's a complex process where your brain flushes out toxins and organizes your memories. When a corporation taps into your neurons to run its tasks, it's stealing the resources meant for your recovery. You start feeling a neural hangover, and that's just the beginning. Imagine a typical night a month into the job. You don't dream about the beach or your loved ones anymore. Your dreams turn into a nightmare kaleidoscope of code, endless spreadsheets, and flickering data log. Your subconscious is trying to process someone else's tasks, and the line between you, the corporate process, starts to blur. You see faces of people you never met and hear snippets of conversations from databases your hippocampus was crunching. Wake up in a cold sweat, trying to remember who you actually are. Most people don't realize it at first, but you're literally renting out your mind, turning it into a crowded apartment for someone else's algorithm. It gets worse. Once the technology goes mainstream, the rules change. Renting your brain stops being a way to make extra money and becomes a requirement for survival. Housing and food prices skyrocket because now everyone has money. Your daytime labor loses its value. If you aren't renting your brain at night, you simply can't compete. Governments start introducing a neuron idle tax. You don't even belong to yourself inside your own head anymore. Look at how this changes society. We end up with a world divided between a new elite and bioservers. The rich can afford the ultimate luxury, clean, natural sleep. They own their thoughts. Everyone else? They're just biological hardware. You see lines at clinics for chip upgrades because the old models can't handle the new corporate demands. You see people on the subway with glazed eyes. Their brains are so worn out from night shifts that they're basically the walking dead during the day. The social pressure becomes brutal. If you disconnect, you're selfish. You're not helping humanity build the great digital future. This brings us to the deepest, scariest level, the ethics. At what point do you stop being you? Your brain isn't just a processor. It's the vault for your personality, your feelings, and your values. When gigabytes of outside data flow through your neurons, they leave a mark. It's called a neural imprint. You start noticing your tastes are changing. Suddenly, you like music you used to hate. You start supporting political ideas that used to seem insane. That's not an accident. It's a side effect of using your mind as a transit zone. You're becoming a function, a tool. Your personality is slowly dissolving into the corporate cloud. And you can't even protest because your thoughts aren't entirely yours anymore. You feel a constant sense of guilt and exhaustion. If you decide to unplug just to get some real sleep, you lose everything. Your status, your income, your place in society. You're a hostage to your own biology. And here's a big question. Who's responsible if your brain makes a mistake during a night task? What if the algorithm you were calculating causes a self-driving car to crash or triggers a financial meltdown? Are you an accomplice or just a tool? The legal system isn't ready for this, so in the end, it's always on you, the human battery. What does the future look like? In the worst-case scenario, humanity becomes a biological farm. Cities go quiet because people spend 18 hours a day in a working sleep coma just to pay off their debts. It would be a civilization of sleeping gods whose mental energy powers a cold, soulless AI. The best-case scenario? Maybe we learn to use just 1% of our idle power safely to solve global problems like curing cancer or modeling climate change. But let's be real. When trillions in profit are on the line, who's going to worry about your mental health? The most realistic scenario is slow degradation. We'll just get used to it. We'll get used to being perpetually tired, hearing voices in our heads, and knowing our dreams belong to Amazon or Google. We'll become part of a global network where individuality is just an annoying efficiency glitch. Here's the ultimate paradox of sleepwalking. By trying to buy ourselves more free time and comfort, we sell the only place where we were ever truly free. We trade the depth of our souls for numbers on a screen. Think about that tonight when your head hits the pillow. Your sleep is the final frontier. It's the only time you're actually you. So, ask yourself honestly, how much would it take for you to let strangers into your head? Is there any amount of money that can buy back yourself? If someone offered you that button tomorrow, would you push it, knowing you might never wake up as the same person who went to sleep? The future is knocking, and it doesn't want your money, your time, or even your body. It wants your thoughts. And the scariest part is, you might give them up with a smile, just for a bank notification. So what's more important, being rich in your dreams or being free in reality? The choice seems obvious until you get a bill for a life you can't afford. Let me know in the comments. Would you rent out your brain, or is your inner world not for sale? Protect your sleep while it's still yours.